Tonight, we're diving into two terrifying true stories, both set in the middle of the desert where there's no one to hear you scream. In the first story, a couple goes on what was supposed to be a peaceful camping trip, but something or someone starts watching them in the dark. And in the second, a simple road trip turns into a nightmare when armed men surround a car and a single phone call changes everything. These stories might sound unbelievable, but trust me, you wouldn't want to experience either of them yourself. Let's get into it.
I've always considered myself a tough, grounded kind of guy. The outdoors is where I feel most at ease. No luxury resorts, no crowded cities, just dirt, silence, and open sky. That's my idea of peace. Tiki, my girlfriend of 6 months, was the same. That's actually how we connected in the first place. Shared love for isolation, for nature, for getting away from everything human. So when I suggested a desert camping trip, she didn't even hesitate. In hindsight, that should have worried me. The desert is not like forests or mountains. It doesn't just feel empty. It feels erased, like something once existed there and got removed so completely, even memory can't cling to it. Still, we went. I found a remote legal campsite online. No facilities, no rangers, no people, just open land and fire rings that looked older than they should have been. The listing called it stargazing paradise. That part sold both of us immediately. We left early Friday morning, truck packed tight, excitement high. The last hour was nothing but a dirt road stretching forward like it had no intention of ever ending. No phone signal, no houses, no signs, just endless, indifferent terrain. At some point, I remember realizing something strange. We hadn't seen a single bird. By the time we arrived, the sun was already dropping. The place was exactly what it promised, empty. Not quiet in a peaceful way, but quiet in a wrong way, like even sound didn't want to exist there. Still, the first 2 nights were perfect. Warm days, cold nights, skies so clear it almost felt artificial. We drank by the fire, passed a joint back and forth, talked about everything and nothing. We laughed too loud sometimes just to prove the silence couldn't swallow us. And when the stars came out, it almost felt worth it. Almost. But the desert has a way of reminding you that you're not alone, even when you absolutely are. On both nights, around the same time, something reached us from far beyond the firelight. A sound. Low. Distant, unstable, like a breath stretched too long, or a voice trying to become a scream, but forgetting how. Tiki heard it first the first night. I saw her freeze mid-sentence. "What is that?" she whispered. I lied immediately. Coyote, probably. But even as I said it, I knew it didn't sound right. Coyotes don't sound like something that's thinking while it's suffering. The second night, it came again. Same time, same direction, only louder. Neither of us laughed this time. We just listened until it stopped and pretended we hadn't. On the third night, the desert stopped pretending. I woke up before I understood why. No sound at first. Just pressure, like the air itself was waiting for me to notice something. Then, crunch. Outside the tent, dry dirt shifting under careful weight. I held my breath so hard it hurt. My body went completely still before my mind even caught up. Another step. Closer. Not random, not wandering. Approaching. I wanted to reach for the flashlight, wake Tiki, say something, anything. But I couldn't move. It felt like my body had accepted something my brain hadn't yet. The steps stopped, right beside us. Silence followed, but it wasn't empty anymore. It was focused, directed, like whatever was out there was listening to see if we were brave enough to exist. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds stretched into something worse. Then I heard it. A flick, metal scraping, a lighter igniting. A small orange glow appeared through the tent fabric, steady, patient, hovering at about waist height. It didn't rush, it studied. Tiki shifted beside me, half awake now. I pressed my hand against her arm so hard I think it hurt her, but I couldn't risk words. The flame moved slightly, like whoever held it was circling us without walking. Then it paused and grew brighter. Not a lighter anymore. Something was being lit. The glow turned violent, larger, unstable, alive, and then it dropped. Whatever was in that hand hit the ground with a dull, careless thud. 1 second passed. Then the tent lit up from the outside like a lantern made of skin. Fire doesn't spread slowly when it's already been waiting. It erupted. Tiki screamed my name, and that broke whatever paralysis had me locked in. We moved without thinking, pure survival, no logic, no plan. I kicked the zipper open. Cold desert air hit us like a slap. Behind us, the tent was already collapsing into itself, glowing from the inside. We threw gear, anything we could grab. I don't even know what we saved. Tiki grabbed a water jug and dumped it at the flames, but it was pointless. The fire wasn't trying to survive. It was trying to finish something. And then, nothing. No footsteps, no running, no shadow. Whoever lit it was gone like they had never been there at all. That was the worst part. We stood there for maybe 10 seconds, just staring at the burning remains, waiting for proof we weren't hallucinating. There was none. Then Tiki started packing fast, shaking, not speaking. I followed. We didn't argue, didn't check anything properly, just survival math in our heads screaming, "Leave!" We started walking in what we thought was the direction of the truck. We were wrong. The desert at night removes direction like it removes sound. Everything looks the same until your brain stops trusting your eyes. 10 minutes in, I realized we were circling. Then, the sound returned. Not distant this time. Behind us. That same broken, stretched scream, but now it wasn't isolated. It was joined. Another voice answered it from the left, then another from somewhere ahead. Tiki grabbed my sleeve. She whispered, "I don't like this." I didn't answer, because suddenly it didn't feel like wildlife anymore. It felt like coordination, like something had learned to communicate in pain. We moved faster, always faster. And then, the truck, just there, like it was waiting to see if we deserved it. We didn't speak. We just threw everything inside and got in. I started the engine with shaking hands and drove. The road fought us the entire way. Every bump felt intentional, like the desert didn't want us leaving with a clean story. In the rearview mirror, I kept expecting to see movement. There was nothing. Until we reached the main road. Only then did I feel my lungs fully inflate again. Cars, lights, life. Tiki was crying silently now, staring out the window, like if she looked away, the desert might follow us. We called the police, gave them everything: location, fire, sounds, someone outside the tent. But even as I put it out loud, I realized something that still doesn't sit right with me. There were no footprints, no disturbed sand around the tent, nothing that proved a person had ever been there at all. And the sound we heard, it didn't sound like something in pain. It sounded like something practicing.
This is important context for what I'm about to tell you, so I need to start here. I've always been uneasy about my mom's past. Not suspicious in a clear, obvious way, more like a feeling in the back of my mind that never fully goes away, like something about her history was deliberately left unfinished. She was born in Mexico and spent her childhood there before moving to the United States alone to pursue an undergraduate degree. And after that, her life basically becomes a closed book. She met my dad, built a life here, and has stayed in America ever since. But I don't really know her before America. And what scares me most is that it feels intentional. She never talks about her life back then, not even casually, not even in passing. Anytime it comes up, she deflects, jokes, subject changes, anything to move away from it as fast as possible. It's not avoidance in a normal sense, it's practiced, controlled. Growing up, my dad used to explain it away as childhood trauma, something painful she didn't want to revisit. And for years, I accepted that without question, because why wouldn't I? But as I got older, I started noticing the gaps, the way she could shut down conversations before they even formed, the way her expression would change, subtle, almost invisible, whenever someone got too curious. That's when I started paying attention. Here's what I do know. She grew up in a border town in northern Mexico, somewhere along the Texas border, a place with a reputation you don't ignore, a place where stories don't always stay stories. The closest I've ever come to understanding her family is something she once said in passing when I was a kid. She laughed and said her father's side were politicians and her mother's side were crooks, but she could never remember which was which. Everyone laughed when she said it, but I never stopped thinking about it. As I got older, it stopped sounding like a joke. Her father worked in government in some capacity. I don't know what kind. I don't think I ever will. And her mother, she never mentions her at all. Not once, like she was erased from conversation entirely. There is only one other thing I know, a name. I won't write it out. I'll just call him R. When I was around 10 or 11, I woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. As I walked past the living room, I heard my mother's voice. She was speaking quietly in Spanish. I didn't understand the words, but I recognized the rhythm of a conversation meant to be private. Not a call to someone, but a conversation about someone. She kept repeating the name R over and over. The house was completely dark. I couldn't see her, only hear her voice floating out of the blackness. Even though I knew it was just my mom, something about it didn't feel like her. I was still a kid. I didn't think, I just reacted. I flipped the light switch on. She didn't flinch, didn't react at all. It was like she already knew I was there. She ended the call instantly, and then she looked at me. I remember that look more than anything else. It wasn't anger, it wasn't fear, it was recognition, like I had interrupted something I was never meant to see. She told me to go back to bed, and I did, and that was it. That's all I have from her past. A few jokes, a vague government job, a buried name, and a silence that feels heavier every year I get older. What I'm about to tell you happened almost exactly a year ago, and I haven't been able to fully shake it since. I grew up in Arizona. I had been out of college for about a year, and I was driving alone through the desert to meet an old friend. Long stretch of empty road, hours of nothing. At some point, I got tired of music. I'm not really a podcast person either, so I started calling people just to stay awake. Friends, old contacts, random conversations just to fill the silence. Eventually, I called my mom. We were talking about soccer, specifically Champions League fixtures. It was normal, comfortable, almost routine. She knows the game better than most people I know. We could talk for hours without noticing time passing. And then, I saw them. 2 pickup trucks blocking the road ahead. Not an accident. No debris, no emergency lights. Just placed there. Intentional. My stomach tightened immediately, but I also couldn't ignore the possibility that someone might actually need help. My mom was still on the phone. She didn't know anything had changed. I stopped the car. And for a few seconds, I just sat there, engine running, staring at the trucks, trying to decide if I should get out. That's when everything changed. 3 men came out from both sides, all armed. No warning, no hesitation, just movement, fast and coordinated like they had done this before. My entire body locked up. And then I realized another vehicle was approaching from behind. I wasn't being stopped, I was being boxed in. One of the men walked up to my door and tapped the gun against the window. A silent order, "Get out." I obeyed. Slowly, hands raised, heart pounding so hard I could hear it over everything else. By the time I was outside, the second vehicle had stopped behind me. The desert suddenly didn't feel empty anymore. It felt surrounded. One of them shouted something in Spanish. I didn't understand a word. And that helplessness, that inability to even respond, is something I can't describe properly. It wasn't just fear, it was isolation, complete and total.
Within seconds, they took everything. Wallet, phone, keys, anything I had. I was stranded, in the middle of nowhere. And then something happened that I didn't notice at first. My phone was still connected. My mom was still on the line. The engine was still running, and she could hear everything. One of the men got into my truck. I watched through the window as he looked at my phone. His finger hovered over the screen, like he was about to hang up. But then he stopped and listened. I realized it at the exact same moment my stomach dropped. He wasn't ignoring the call, he was hearing her. And then he spoke. Not to me, to her. What followed wasn't chaos, it was worse. It was conversation. Back and forth in Spanish. Controlled, calm, familiar, like they weren't strangers at all. At one point, I heard him repeat a name. R. My blood ran cold. The same name, the same one from years ago. The others slowly stopped watching me and started watching the truck instead, like something had shifted in their understanding of the situation. Then the man inside rolled the window down and spoke to them, quietly, confidently. When he finished, all 3 of them turned toward me and just stared. Not angry, not confused, assessing, like I wasn't a victim anymore, like I was something else. A few seconds later, the phone call ended. They walked back to me. I braced myself for what was coming next, but instead, they gave everything back. Wallet, phone, keys. Everything except the cash. One of them even smiled and said in heavily accented English, "Dex." Then they left. All 3 vehicles disappeared into the desert like they had never been there at all. No plates, no trace, just dust and silence. I sat in my car for a long time before I could move. Eventually, I called my mom back. I didn't ask questions. I demanded answers. She told me she had simply threatened to call the police while tracking my location, that she had handled it. I told her that wasn't possible. What I heard wasn't a threat, it was a conversation. She insisted I was mistaken, that she had just been pleading with them in Spanish, but her voice didn't match her words. Eventually, I gave up pushing. What else was I supposed to do? We hung up, and I drove the rest of the way in complete silence. I tried to bury it after that, convince myself it was just adrenaline, confusion, coincidence, but I can't anymore. Because the more I think about it, the less it feels like a random encounter, and the more it feels like they didn't stop me because of who I am, but because of who my mother is. And now I can't stop thinking about something even worse. If they recognized her name that easily, how many others still do? And what happens the next time someone does?